August 30th, 2011. I don't have to tell you what it was like. It was pretty rough. Most of Texas and Oklahoma are in exceptional drought. Well, we get to the fall of 2011. All this talk at the Noble Foundation about hay and the value of hay, and if you're going to use hay, I'm really not used to feeding hay. I don't feed much hay. I'll get some for my first calf heifers, but we tend to run cattle on range, and I might feed some alfalfa as a protein supplement, but we tend to run off protein supplements. I could see that if I didn't feed hay, I was going to have to get into my younger cow herd and start selling them, and so we made the decision that, hey, we've sold all these cull cows. I'm afraid we're going to have to pay taxes. Before Dan told me that they would allow us to delay that until next year. Anyway, we spent some of that cow money on a barn so we could keep our hay going. Then finding hay, though, you know, it doesn't do any good to have a barn if you don't have any hay to put in it. So I start making phone calls, and I located some way up in the Dakotas, and found some hay, both grass and alfalfa, and got it for a very reasonable price. But by the time you add trucking to it, it's no longer reasonable. I figured that out real fast. And then just finding a truck is a challenge. And with these round bales, you can't just take a straight deck. You have to have a drop deck or step deck or double drop. I don't know what the right terminology is, but your straight decks that haul pipe up there for the oil companies don't work because you can't haul enough hay on them to make it worth your money coming home. So I finally found a place and got a listing out, and my first contact was with a company called Joyful Noise Trucking. And I'm on the phone with the lady, and she's out of Georgia. And I said, Joyful Noise Trucking, as in make a joyful noise to the Lord? And she said, yes, sir, that's exactly right. And I thought, man, I got it made now. The guy calls, and he called for directions up in Kansas. So I told him how to get here. And I could barely understand him. He gets in Oklahoma, and I get another call. He's supposed to be there at 7:30 in the morning. At 9 o'clock, no show. And I finally get a hold of him, and he said he's north of Oklahoma City, that he'll be here in about an hour or 2 hours. And he calls me back, and he said, he said, what's about this hay falling off this truck? I said, excuse me, what? What did you say? He said, this hay falling off this truck. And I know he's on the interstate because I spent a lot of time with DOT and trying to figure out the trucking laws and the width and talking to him because, you know, the governor, she passed legislation where it was legal, but DOT and the Highway Patrol didn't know all this initially, so we had a lot of battles. But I said, how many bales did you lose? And he said, we didn't lose anything, but it sure is leaning. And I said, I can't do anything. Well, I just got a 75-horse tractor and a gooseneck trailer, you know. I can't do anything for you. He said, what do I do? And I said, well, just keep rolling, but don't take the turns so fast. So anyway, he gets there, and I'm telling you, and he's just blowing down our gravel road. The dust is boiling, and the hay's doing like this. I thought, oh, Lord, I've got another 100 of these to go. But anyway, I didn't buy all that hay myself. I got it. A lot of people, a lot of area ranches that ended up buying that hay. I did figure out, though, that a 75-horse tractor does not work well with a 1,500-pound round bale of alfalfa hay. Boy, it'll make you kind of suck air and drive real slow. To go into second gear, I'm in low-speed first gear. I mean, it's taken me hours to get the hay unloaded. So I got with Jim. He knows a little bit more than I do about tractors, and he helped me locate something a little sturdier. And so this is a new play toy. We got a good deal on a 4440, and had to do a little work on it, but it's running fine. I did learn that these new cell phones are great. You know, I mean, we could pass bills back and forth and invoices, and I'd get a call from a trucker. If you're doing business, these new iPhones are just wonderful. I'd get a picture and then send it up to the guy I bought the hay from so he'd know what it weighed. Probably one of the worst days of my life. I hate, once I feed cattle, I hate shipping them. I mean, I love to watch them grow, and you know, we had weaned them in July, and where my normal weaning weights in October will be well over 500 pounds. We weaned them, and they averaged 385 pounds, and so it was a little bit different growing them out. Deke, Robert, Clay, these guys helped me a lot on feeding these cattle, telling me what the energy contents needed to be, because it is greater for a 300-pound calf than it is a 500-pound calf. But anyway, we shipped our calves. We retained our black heifers and lightweight steers and heifers. I'm not sure why. They were just smaller. I decided to keep them on feed longer. The feed wasn't costing just, well, I don't know. I can't remember what it was costing. But anyway, I was glad we did because I found some wheat that I was able to go to with those cattle. So we're on cruise control again. Hugh puts on a pasture seminar out at a cooperator's place, and we were literally floored. Again, this guy had taken care of his pastures in the previous years. It wasn't that he was lightly stocked this year. It's that he had been properly stocked for the previous 4 or 5 years and built this place up to be what it was. And he hadn't gotten much more rain than any of the rest of us, and he was still growing grass in September. It was unbelievable to see what was on this guy's place and the performance of the cattle that were out there. My daughter, the one that showed the heifer, she leaves to go to college. I've got 2 other boys. They're both in college. Empty nest syndrome sets in. My wife kicks me out of the recliner and buys a dog. 26 years we've been married, never had a dog in the house. She wouldn't allow it, but now we've got a house dog. I'm quite fond of this pup myself. Had Deke over for a steak. He looked at that and said, "Chuck, I'm not sure it's big enough." And,
that's a little place.
I probably owe him a steak now. You've already covered this. Deke covered it some, and I think James covered it some. But I learned how to feed hay very efficiently last year, because when you're feeding $200 grass hay, you don't want to waste it. And so I found a couple of these feeders. I can't remember the name of them. It's an inverted cone, but there is very little waste. I bet I had already fed 30 or 40 bales through this feeder, and some of it, you know, you can kind of see there in the mud in the winter. We'd caught a little bit of rain, I guess, but wasted very little hay. A very efficient way to feed hay. And with $200 a ton hay, you will pay for this feeder fairly quickly. But I'm still a tightwad, so I tried the Bextra feeders and got along with them pretty well too. And if I were, I'll never go back to just the regular bottom feeders, or not just setting a bale of hay out, or, you know, this is definitely the way to go if you want to be stingy with your hay. Now, if you roll the bale out, it might be a little bit different. But if you're full feeding, you know, have buffet hay out there for your cows, you need to do something like this. Back to this crossbreeding program, you know, I'm trying really hard. So I bring Deke out there, and you know, he was kind of nice. He said, "Well, Chuck, you know, I don't know he's trying to be nice," and he said she could have just a little more ear. Well, I had another one, so I showed him that one, and this one, I really like this heifer here, because she probably won't weigh over 1,500 pounds, 1,600 pounds when she's full grown. She'll be a lightweight as she matures. But the calf, if you notice, he doesn't have to use much energy. He doesn't have to walk around the back side of her. He can just go to all 4 faucets. And Deke said, "That's not necessarily called efficiency, Chuck." He said, "I don't think that's what we're really after." So as you can see, you know, we're always telling you guys to do this and to do that, but we do things that are offline too, or at least I do. Actually, it's my wife. I've been willing to say that. She just says, "No, you will not," because she's a daughter of big ears. We do know that if you have a cow with big ears, you tend to get a calf with big ears. So anyway, luckily we've just got one, so our breeding program with her won't advance very rapidly. I said, "Deke, if you're complaining about too much ear, what about a cow with no ears?" And her name is No Ears. I bought her in an estate sale. I'm not sure what happened, but I think she was chased very vigorously with horses and dogs, the way she reacted to when we first got. It took me 2 years just to find her in the brush. And I don't know, she had 3 calves with her when I did finally find her. But she's a gentle cow now, and it's funny. Something else I learned in this process is that if a cow doesn't have ears, they don't have real good sense of direction to the siren when you blow it. And so she really never comes to the feed truck unless she sees you. She's a sight feeder. And how in the world she stays fat like she does, I don't know. She's the ugliest thing in the world in terms of not having ears, but I wouldn't trade her for the world. She's an excellent cow. Actually, Deke has helped me a lot, and so has Robert. And one of the things I learned through this drought is that it is very important to have a tight calving interval. it just helps you so much in your feeding program, your efficiency. I couldn't put a pencil to what the cost saving is there, but you know, when you got a cow with a 200-pound calf and another cow with a 500-pound calf, and one's body condition score 3.5 and one's body condition score 6, you know, that's just a difficult scenario to be in, and it makes it really hard to full feed $200 a ton hay. This is kind of more what we're after, I guess, at least what my wife is after. She always talks about the color in our calves. And you know, I don't mind having these white calves or colored calves. We'll mix them with the blacks, sell them together. Our operation, we're just a kind of a family operation. I don't try to compete or anything with any of the producers we have. We're into growing pounds of beef, and so we try to do that through a crossbreeding program. Still taking a little time to have fun. We think things are getting a little better. It's early February. It's still pretty dry, but we went to NCBA, and it had always been a goal of mine to meet Dolly Parton. Well, I finally found her. Don't worry, my wife took this picture. I'm harmless.